Is spraying neat herbicides safe? With our Mancar CDA plus ULV sprayers, typically you'll spray a chemical neat. So rather than diluting your glyphosate 480 by 20 to 1 or 30 to 1 or whatever it is you normally dilute it by, you're spraying it neat. So is that safe? Some people may have some reservations about spraying neat glyphosate. This is understandable, but using the right kit is actually far safer than spraying it diluted. Now, firstly, we need to remember is that the overall amount of chemical being sprayed will be less per hectare than with conventional spraying. So we already see some immediate operator benefits. You can literally use less of the chemical to do the same job. I'm going to explain how this happens in a different video. Next, there is a fundamental difference in the way that the sprays are generated. In a conventional pressure sprayer, the chemical needs to be diluted so that there's enough fluid to form a spray pattern at a sensible pressure. Without the addition of large volumes of water, the amount of fluid that would need to be sprayed would necessitate a nozzle that's so small that its orifice would become easily clogged and require a very high pressure to form a spray pattern. This would result in a very fine drop size that would just waft off target. So it's just not practical for a conventional sprayer to get down to the very, very low flow rates required to deliver neat chemical. So you have to bulk them up with water. Now, conventional sprayers will produce sprays with a wide range of drop sizes. So the average drop size will be around about that 150 micron range, which is the same as your CDA sprayers. We're aiming for that kind of optimal drop size because this drop size is good for herbicide sprayers. It maximizes the absorption. But with a conventional sprayer, there's a big variation in the drop sizes. So even though that average drop size may be about the same as a CDA sprayer, the spectrum of drops is much, much wider. So there's some very big drop sizes there, which will tend not to be absorbed very well. And there's also lots of fine droplets. And it's these fine droplets that will drift and are actually a major source of contamination, especially respiratory contamination from the operator. Now, CDA sprayers will produce almost all of their droplets within that 140 to 160 micron range. So those fines wafting around just don't happen. A 2004 study showed that inhalation contamination dropped dramatically when CDA technology was used. In this study, standard spraying from a conventional sprayer resulted in exposure up to 36.5 milligrams per meter cubed of liquid sprayed was inhaled potentially. With the CDA sprayer, this dropped to a maximum of 0.616 milligrams per meter cubed of liquid sprayed. And most of the operators in the study, there was zero inhalation risk from fines. In other words, in the worst case scenario, the operator was exposed to 50 times less inhalation risk using CDA spraying. Essentially, this reduced the inhalation exposure to zero. Now, there's similar impressive results were found on potential contamination on shoes, on the body, on boots and legs of the operator. There's a link to this study below. A big source of contamination also comes from the mixing and refilling of the chemical tanks. With the ULV and CDA sprayer, tank refills are normally reduced by a factor of 10 or more, so there's less actual mixing of chemicals involved, so less source of contamination there. So in short, CDA spraying, especially when combined with ULV spraying, dramatically reduces the chance of operating contamination. Now, we're making no comment here on the overall safety of glyphosate and other agrochemicals. There's ongoing legal cases and opinions vary dramatically on how safe or unsafe these chemicals are. At PSP, we're not expert enough to weigh in on those weighty issues. But what is clear is that if this is a concern, if you are concerned about operator contamination, operator safety, then CDA and especially CDA combined with ULV spraying like you get with the Mancar product will greatly reduce the potential for operating contamination and exposure.